Okay, here we go. I'm going to admit everybody.
All right.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for everyone that is here joining us. I'm admitting everybody into the room. Just so you know, this session is being recorded. The session will be posted on our website as well as on our YouTube channel, and that information is in the chat box. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it again, just in case. There we go. So welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your evening. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. My name is Deb Cole, and I'm the program manager for the Lewis Stokes Midwest Regional Center of Excellence. And I am joined today by Cortez Watkins, and he is our representative from Fermilab, and also Dr. Pamela Shaw. And Dr. Pamela Shaw is a co-PI of this project and has been involved with this project since its inception in 2012. So I want to welcome both of them and give them an opportunity to quickly introduce themselves. Cortez.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Cortez Watkins, and I serve as the Workforce Development Liaison at Fermilab, but my background is in engineering physics and mathematics. And actually, I'm an alum of the LAM program and LSLAM program in Louisiana from Dillard. So happy to be here. I was just speaking with everyone earlier that it's a full, circle moment for me. So I'm so excited to be a part of this. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Shaw.
Hi, my name is Dr. Pamela Shaw, and I've been involved with LSAMP since 2003, but I've been involved with student programming similarly for years. My name's Doctor because I actually have a DMD and an MPH, so I've been trained clinically as a health professional, but I've worked with students in STEM because many health professionals come from STEM backgrounds for many, many, many years. Actually, I just recently retired from academia, and I'm kind of doing this little independent consulting thing. And I work with a lot of students who are trying to do a lot of things, but they usually all are STEM majors. So welcome.
Welcome, everyone. Just so you know, this is going to be a very casual conversation. We're going to present some information to you, but at any point in time, if you have questions, you have thoughts, you have comments, by all means, go ahead and either type your question or your comment in the chat box and we'll wrap around to it. Or I'm going to be pausing throughout as well and asking if people have questions. So by all means, feel free to speak up. And if you have questions after we've delivered all the information and maybe you have a question that needs special attention, feel free to stay on afterwards and we'll go ahead and arrange a time for us to connect. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to get going here. So very quickly, for those that haven't learned about it yet, so Fermilab, the science, this stands for the Summer Internship for Science and Technology. I always forget that acronym, but anyways, the program has been around for a number of years. It's been around since 1971, so it's been around as long as I have. And so Fermilab knows what they're doing. They've been bringing cohorts of students in since that time, but LSMRCE and Fermilab partnered officially back in 2018 to bring these opportunities to the LSAMP community. We're going to talk a little bit more about this, but just so you know, this program or this internship can be applied through the Fermilab website without any connection with LSMRCE. So you do not have to go through us, but we're going to talk about the benefits if you do. So some of the things that you need to know about, and we're going to circle back around to these dates, but the key dates are January the 11th, 2022 at 4 p.m. Central Time. That's when the application is due. March, you're going to learn whether or not that you were selected for the program. And if you were selected for the program, then the program dates are May through August the 12th. So it's May 23rd through August the 12th. That is a 12-week program. Going into a little bit more information about the SIST internship. So there's some major points to apply. One of them for eligibility, you need to be currently a sophomore or junior when you're applying. So we're looking for either juniors or seniors next year. And just so you know, if you have a question, well, I'm such and such grade, but I have so many credits, we go by your credits. So once you, if you have a threshold of being a sophomore going into a junior or a junior going to senior, you're eligible as far as academics. You need to be enrolled in a four-year institution. You need to also have a 3.0 GPA, and that is a pretty firm GPA requirement. You do need to be eligible to work in the United States. And then we're also looking for people that are majoring in different STEM fields, specifically in physics, in certain engineering fields, such as mechanical, electrical, and computer, and then also material science and mathematics and computer science. In order to apply, it's a very simple process. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to fill out an online application. I have the questions that I'm going to disseminate here in a little bit so that you'll be able to prep for those. In addition to filling out that online application, you're going to need to upload your unofficial transcript, and then you're going to need 2 letters of recommendation from individuals. And I'm going to pause here and number one, ask if anybody has any questions. If you do, feel free to put in the chat or take yourself off of mute. But really quickly, I want to speak to these letters of recommendation. And Cortez and Dr. Shaw, by all means, feel free to jump in here. But I can tell you that in the past years that the letters of recommendation seem to have been the barrier to a lot of students. A lot of students that I don't know who to ask for letters of recommendation. I haven't developed a relationship enough with a research professor to be able to ask for that level of recommendation. And so as you're looking at these individuals, you're going to look for anybody that can speak to your character, to your worth ethic. Yeah, and go ahead, Cortez, why don't you take over and say like the type of things that they could do and the different types of people they could ask.
Sure. Yes. Yeah, I think that's a great point. Yes. You want to connect with someone to do a letter of recommendation for you that can really speak to your strengths. It can be anyone in a professional setting, whether it's a mentor or someone that's a part of an organization that you volunteer with. You can have even a past professor that you may not be taking a course from currently. So we would just want you to really connect with someone that can say really amazing things about you. In addition to that, they can also speak to your areas of strengths and how you could benefit from an opportunity such as this magnitude. So really, challenge yourselves to think differently and think outside of the box, and also don't let it dissuade you. Like Deb was saying earlier, if you don't have a direct recommender who works in research or in one of the STEM fields.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions about the eligibility or the application components?
I actually had a quick question.
Yes.
I'll put a face to a name.
Hi, Olivia. How are you?
I'm good. I want to apologize for any thumping you hear. I have a rabbit running around my apartment right now. So.
Oh, well, if he runs by, will you pick him up so we can see him?
Yeah. Okay, this is her.
Where is he? Oh, look at you.
Yeah, she's going a little crazy right now. She has the zoomies, but
okay.
I am currently a junior at Marquette, and I am majoring in bioengineering. Sorry, biomedical engineering with a focus in mechanics. Am I still eligible if it's not directly with mechanics?
Yes, actually you are. So when we say ideally, it'll be nice if someone is in one of these STEM fields. However, we do sometimes have researchers that do independent research opportunities as well. I think that as long as you have a STEM background, I think that's important. I've learned that over the years, STEM areas of interest are all connected in some shape, form, or fashion, because one of the unique things about folks in STEM careers is that it's really teaching you how to think differently, right? And to really embark upon new frontiers and create things, invent things, right? So yeah, I would encourage you to apply and let us know through Deb and Dr. Shaw, so we can make sure that we encourage your application, right?
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Anyway, we have another question in here in the chat box. This is from Amber. Amber, you feel free to take yourself off of mute. Otherwise, I'll just go ahead and read this for you. Oh, there she is. Go ahead, Amber.
Hey, so I work with students at Ivy Tech Community College in Indiana, and I'm wondering if a student who just completed an associate degree at Ivy Tech, who let's say this is their first semester at one of the four-year institutions, would you recommend that they wait until after the fall semester so they can show completion of credits at the four-year institution and show a completion of at least a 3.0 GPA? Or would you recommend that they can go ahead and apply right now before the holidays?
Now, have they already been enrolled at that four-year institution, or
Yes.
been?
Yep. So this would be their first semester that they're enrolling. They haven't finished, so we don't know what their four-year first semester GPA will be, but we will know the week of Christmas.
Yeah, so in that instance, I would actually still encourage them to apply, because
Okay.
if they're transferring from an associate's program, they would already have the hours
Okay.
to be considered a sophomore, right? So, and we know that, I think that's also one of the reasons why we ask for an unofficial transcript, as we know that final grades sometimes are delayed. So I would encourage them to apply, go ahead and apply right now. And
Okay.
if, like, say for instance, their transcript comes in later, then we can still try to connect those documents with their application, but still apply. Yeah.
That sounds great. And you're looking
Great
for
question.
all unofficial transcripts from all four-year higher education or all higher education institutions after high school? Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, so I mentioned earlier that you can apply to the Fermilab SIST program with or without LSMRCE. So all interns, regardless of whether or not they're applying through us or through Fermilab directly, they receive these benefits. They all get hired as employees of Fermilab, which is pretty impressive. You'll be able to put Fermilab as an employer on your resume after the summer is over. You're going to be paid weekly. And when I say you're going to be paid weekly, you're going to be paid well. And Cortez might be able to give you a little bit more feel on this, but like I was blown away at the hourly rates, and I know they are by grade point. Cortez, do you want to go into detail about that?
They definitely are. Yeah, I wish I wish I would have applied, when I was a sophomore, junior. But yes, it's definitely by classification. So a sophomore would start at about 21 an hour, juniors 23, and seniors $25 an hour. So as you can know, as you do the math for that, getting paid weekly, you're like, oh my gosh, that's enough to do a lot of things that I need to do with enough money to do that. So I would really encourage you to apply. And what's nice about a lot of our interns, we've had some interns to return 1 year, some to return more than once. And we definitely have had those students who are interns to convert into actual full-time employees at the lab. I know of at least 3 or 4 right now, just recently, that I work in hiring at the lab, and they have all put on SIST on their application, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is a SIST participant. Let's see, what opportunities that we can encourage them to apply for here at the lab. So I'm happy to say that we have quite a few different interns that have returned as full-time employees.
Yeah, I mean, what is that? $25 an hour. I think that's like $50,000 a year or something like that. That's no joke, man. Coming out as a sophomore or junior, making that kind of cash. Anyways, I digress. So in addition to getting paid weekly, you will receive round trip transportation from your home to the Fermilab lab, which, by the way, is located in Batavia, Illinois. I don't know if everybody knows where Batavia, Illinois is. I did not, but it is the very far west suburb. So if you're familiar with, say, like Naperville or Aurora or something like that, it's out that way. So they will pay for your round trip transportation from your home into Chicago, and then also to the lab then. One of the other things I was kind of blown away about this particular internship is the fact that they give you transportation every single day from your apartment that you're sharing with the other interns or some of the interns to the Fermilab campus every day. And how they did this in the past, and Cortez, you're shaking your head, so I'm assuming they're going to go through this with us again. I don't know how they do this, but
Yeah,
every single apartment. So there'll be like 3 students, I want to say, in each
yeah, sure. It's
apartment.
like,
And
yeah.
yeah,
It's like
something
a
like that.
suite style. Yeah, like a suite style in the past, or even I've seen hotel arrangements as
Ooh.
well, where they can share, depending on if we're in person, which we're hopeful, right? We're very much hopeful that we will be in person next summer. But regardless if we're not, we definitely have a comprehensive program as well virtually for students. So, but yes, transportation, housing, all of that is arranged for participants. So I see that question in the chat. Yeah, no worries about that. We'll make sure that you get here safely and take care of you along the way.
Mhm. And when they say transportation, I think the last time they did it, each apartment got their own car, and it was up to
Yeah.
the interns then to kind of figure out who was driving, who was going to the grocery store, things like
Sure.
that. So,
Mhm.
um, so anyways, yeah, you get a housing, you get a car, you get a weekly pay. I mean, it's a good deal. So let's talk about, well, if you were to apply through LSMRCE, which would be through myself, through Dr. Shaw, through our website. If you apply through us, you get all of the benefits that we just talked about, but you also get a few more things. First and foremost, you get a lot more support as far as you get one-on-one guidance. And so Dr. Shaw, Brian Thomas, and myself will meet you that first week that you're there at the lab and have a discussion with you, learn a little bit more about you, learn about your career goals and what you want to do. And we'll start mapping out what the next steps are for you to be after the summer. Then we will also meet with you periodically throughout the summer. And then at the last week of your internship, we will also meet you back at the laboratory to do an offboarding. And again, that's kind of like, well, what did you find out this summer about yourself? Do you still want to do what we talked about back in May? Have you maybe changed your mind, or what is our next steps? What is our career path here? In addition to this one-on-one support, you will automatically be accepted for presentation at the LSMRCE conference, which if we are in person, it will be in the Chicagoland area again. So even if, Adina, if you're not in Chicago, I will fly you back into Chicago so you can come present at our conference. We go ahead and pay for travel funds. So that will include your travel to and from the conference, and it will include a per diem so you can pay to eat. You know, you'll be set. And the other thing is that, you know, we want to know more about your experience as an intern. And the only way that we're going to learn more is if you tell your story. And people that really benefit from hearing about your story are students that are coming from behind you, right? They're the ones that don't know about internships, and they would learn a lot about your experience and you sharing that with them. And so interns that participate in this program are invited to participate in panels where you will share your story and hopefully inspire those behind you. And then beyond this, you also will be getting travel funds to go to other professional conferences. So beyond LSMRCE, if you want to go to EARN or something like that, another professional conference, we will work with you to arrange travel for that. So you'll be able to go and present your work there as well. Does anybody have any questions? What if you live near enough to commute from home? Cortez, I want to say that it's encouraged to be residents, but I'm going to go ahead and let you answer.
Yes, definitely. I think it adds to the experience, right? Being there close with your colleagues and the other cohort participants. But I definitely can get back to you about that question, because I think if it's, I know it's a reason why they want everyone to be close together, especially because to make sure that we're accountable for each other for all of the presentations and to get there on time. Something could arise, you know, with the weather in Chicago, where you're like, okay, hey, or traffic. So I think to alleviate a lot of those stresses, right, they just put you close to the even closer to the laboratory, or even have had in the past on-site, you know, opportunities. So hopefully
And I
that
can
answers.
say that from our past interns that we had on campus there, one of the things that they said was the best thing about the internship was the being able to work and live with these people, like being able to meet all these different people, and that group tightness that they had at the apartment complex, because they house all of the interns together. And so there's a lot of activities that happen beyond the laboratory that you'd miss out on if you were not there in person.
Yeah, couldn't say it any better than myself. So yes, exactly.
Any other questions about the difference between straight Fermilab and application versus through LSMRCE? Okay, well, let's just go through a little bit more support that we provide you. So we talked about how you customize support through LSMRCE. Well, in addition to the career counseling, we also will help you through the application process. So we will be more than happy, and we actually encourage you to go ahead and complete a dry run, if you will, of the application, fill out the questions, put your responses in there, and then submit it to us. And then all three of us will go through a circle review with your application, and then we want to meet with you one-on-one to kind of go through there to make sure that it is really, really good and it really highlights your strengths and your skills to make you the most competitive applicant as you can. Along with this application support, we will work with you to practice your interview. Every single SIST intern that is selected to go on to the next level will have to do an interview through Zoom. So we'll work with you on that, how to best convey your thoughts and your personality and have yourself come through that screen to your interviewers. We will also support you beyond the internship. So even if you've gone through the internship, we're hoping that you're going to come back in 2-3 years and still be connected with us, still ask those questions, still want to know. So if I wanted to go to graduate school, would this, would that, we're here for you. We're here throughout. The other thing is that if you were to participate through LSMRCE, you're like, okay, well, it's great. We get all these benefits, but what do I have to do? Well, there are a few things. Number one is that you would need to meet with the mentors on day one at the Fermilab. And then also at the end, we talked about that. There'd be an onboarding and an offboarding. We would expect you to attend those. The other thing is that we're going to have periodic touch bases with the interns that participate. And this will be determined on a tailored basis. So we'll talk to you, find out what your needs are, what your preferences are, and we'll develop a schedule for you. But we would expect you to participate in those as well. So you're like, all right, great. Well, sign me up. How do I do this? How do I participate just through LSMRCE as opposed to going on my own through Fermilab? Well, the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to contact me and let me know, hey, I'm interested. And so that way we have your information. We can get a little bit more detail about you and your goals. And then the other thing is that I will send you a reply email that will have all of the application materials and the directions. So that way you'll be able to start drafting your application. And then the other thing is once you go ahead and submit it, and this goes for anybody that even if you take our support in applying, which we hope you do, but if you still want to participate as an LSMRCE intern, even if you don't go through us to apply, if you use on the how I heard about the internship, you use the other in the dropdown and then type in LSMRCE or LSAMP, that will let them know that you're part of our program. And what that does, and Cortez, feel free to correct me, but I believe then that once we find that out, we will make sure that we pull those aside and give those special consideration.
Yeah, definitely. That really helps us to identify, students that we've from the past. So I think it's a great opportunity for you all to get some firsthand recognition by being a part of this program, so I'm like, why wouldn't you want to be a part of the program to participate? Because this is some amazing support that's definitely going to help you build your portfolio in the future. So I would encourage you to participate and definitely follow these instructions closely because they've experienced that. And I know later on in the presentation, they're going to share more about that experience for some students in the past.
Absolutely. Can you participate in the program more than once? Absolutely, you can. In fact, we hope that you do.
Yes, please. Yeah, we encourage you to apply. And also, even with SIST, we also have additional programs, of course, and other fellowships as you matriculate, do your academic career that we encourage you to participate in. So I'll definitely put a link in the chat about all of our internships. But definitely, this is one that we encourage you all to apply for. Specifically, I know we opened it up early for this program and at the conference. Yeah, so we're waiting for you all to apply. So so get in. It's highly competitive. So any way that you can distinguish yourself, whether it's being the drop down information or at least letting Deb and Dr. Shaw and Brian know that you applied will be helpful.
Excellent, thank you. And by the way, I see Brian has joined us. Brian, hey, sir, how are you? He may or may not be there. Anyways, I just wanted to give him an opportunity to jump in if he had something he wanted to add. All right, so I want to go ahead and just really quickly play for you a video from our previous interns, so you can kind of get a feel for, well, what does this mean? What does this look like? So here we go. And hopefully, oh wait, I think I have to change my sound. 1 second, guys. Can you hear it now? Anyone? Yeah, awesome, good.
This LSAMP experience this summer where we sent students to Fermilab is just absolutely amazing. It's our first time where we partner with students from the application process all the way through taking them to their first day at the lab all the way to the end of the summer.
My name is Antonio Segura. I'm going into my senior year at the University of Detroit Mercy, getting my bachelor's in computer science and my master's in software engineering. My summer experience was basically just being an intern at Fermilab and getting a real-world job experience as to what being a computer programmer is like. It's a great experience to just kind of learn what I do in a workspace. It was a good experience because it was so casual. Like, it wasn't too stressful, and overall, I just feel like I learned a ton.
Hello, I am Naomi Gutierrez. I go to Loyola University. I am a rising senior, and in May 2020, I would graduate with a bachelor's in mathematics. Before this internship started, I can honestly say I was in a very close shell where I only saw math as this one not small, but just one route view. But after this program, I learned that I can apply it to many different things, and that as a professional, I grew that it's okay to ask questions and it's okay to reach out. Whether you're lost or you can want to help someone else, you can ask to guide them, but you're not alone in this, and that's very impacting for me.
One of my best experiences from the summer was really just meeting everyone from different walks of life. People from different countries, people from backgrounds different than mine, but all of us being together to kind of work on this thing. And we're out there learning, it's a new experience for everyone. Just a great experience.
I'd say my confidence did build throughout the summer. I learned that there are multiple people that have the same interests as you, whether it's more than others, but it's as if you're not alone, and it could be within any field. It could be biology, chemistry, math, physics, and it's just, you learn that you can do basically anything with a foundation of just one certain topic.
It's just been absolutely amazing to see our students grow, develop, challenge themselves. They've had some difficult experiences and they've learned how to overcome those, but they also have had some wonderful bonding and networking experiences.
I'd absolutely recommend this internship. No one expects to think they'll be prepared coming into an internship regarding a particle physics laboratory. Of course, no one is ever going to be prepared for that, but the experience is framed in such a way that you'll be able to handle it. They're not going to overwhelm you. They'll make it easy enough that you can get stuff done, but hard enough that you're learning, and it's a challenging experience.
All right, everyone. So that is from our 2019 interns. Does anybody have any questions about things that they saw, anything that popped up since we've been gone? Otherwise, I'm going to move on to our last few slides here. So you want to know, okay, well, what's next? Please email me. Let me know if you are interested, so that way I can follow up with you and make sure that you're in our list of students that we're in contact with. Because once you submit, and I know the application is submitted, I'm going to contact Fermilab and let them know that you submitted, so that way we can make sure that we track your application through the process. The other thing that you're going to need to do is you need to think about your letters of recommendation. Considering that this application is due on January the 11th, and we're coming up to Christmas, and winter break, everybody needs to start thinking about who they're going to get their letters of recommendation from and get those requests submitted to your faculty mentors or whoever you select, probably by the end of next week at the latest. I would say that you probably want to give your teachers, your mentors, at least 2, if not 3 weeks to reply, and that's not even around a holiday. And then Dr. Shaw, you could probably speak to this too. If you follow up,
I agree.
I
just did one today actually for a student applying for a PhD program. Well, actually, it's a colleague from some years ago, but anyway, long story short, and I think I got it last week, and it gave me to Friday, but I went on and did it. It takes some time. You have to kind of compile things. And so she was able to send me a personal statement and a resume. And of course we talked. So you have to remember when you do the ask, and I think Deb has a sample kind of letter that you can use. Just make sure you give the person as much information so that they can give the information in the letter that you need to make it an excellent letter for you. If you don't give them enough, they don't have that information. They'll know the relationship you built with them, and hopefully that's something you've worked on. I typically like to start students in their freshman year building letters of recommendation people. You know, it's really a process. And if you haven't done that now, you need to start doing it even for future letters, for graduate school or for whatever you're gonna go for next steps. And sometimes you have to cultivate the people that you're gonna get the letters from, you know, becoming involved in maybe their lectures or their research, or if you're not in their research lab, just showing an interest in their research. Those are the type of things that you want them to talk about in your letter, your interest, your enthusiasm. If you're a student in their class, I'm gonna be honest, if it's a class you didn't go to a lot and it was evident, don't ask that professor. You know, you want a good letter, you know, so it needs to be someone that can justify that you're on time, you're committed, you ask questions, you're interested. You know, it's not just a letter, it's an excellent letter that you want. So you got to put some work into it, but the sooner you can get to the people, the better. And don't be afraid to say after a week or two, you know, that, you know, just a friendly reminder, I know you're busy, I need this letter by a certain point. Sometimes I'll be honest, if you give me more time, then I kind of push it down the road a little bit and then I might forget. So most people don't mind if you give them a general reminder within a week or two. That's okay. Now, not 5 times a day, you know, but yeah, a reminder, it's okay. But anything you can do to give them information at the beginning and as soon as you can would be great.
Yeah. Hey, Deb, can you hear me?
Hi, yeah. Brian, how are you, sir?
I apologize, team, about my difficulties. But I did want to share that on that letter recommendation, if you feel that right now you have not kind of set up those relationships and all of that, that's okay, right? We still have time. So just feel free to make sure that you understand the importance of those relationships from this point on, and not only for your undergrad, but in your graduate studies as well, because this is going to be something that you need not only for Fermilab, but you're going to need this as you're trying to get into your graduate studies and other programs and scholarships, et cetera. So don't be down on yourself if you're like, oh, I don't know 4 or 5 that I can reach out to now. The that I have for you is this time next semester or is this time next year. Make sure that you do have those.
Right. And if you have questions about who you should be asking for letters of recommendation, don't hesitate to reach out. Let us be of service to you and help answer those questions for you. Between Dr. Shaw, Brian, myself, and us reaching out and asking Cortez, I'm sure we'll be able to find some people that in your life that would be able to write letters of recommendation.
Most definitely.
So going back to our list of things, so I am providing everybody these online resources. They will be put into the chat box, as well as I will send these out afterwards. We're going to go through these really quickly, but what they include is a checklist for you to follow through the application process. The actual application questions. So these are the questions you're going to answer in the application that's online. But the application questions give you an opportunity to draft your responses ahead of time and get that review feedback going. The other thing is we're going to give you the full on document about this, about how to request a letter of recommendation. So you'll have this as a template to work with to send those out this week, hopefully. And then the other thing is that you will get a copy of this presentation. So I'm just going to exit out of here really quickly and go into the documents. And I'm hoping you guys can see my documents this time. Yay. You guys see a checklist?
Yes.
All right.
You got it.
You guys don't know the struggle I've had. Anyway, so we have the internship checklist, and this is just a really kind of very to the point list of things that you need to do if you plan to apply. The first thing is you need to draft that application. Look at the application, look at the questions, start coming up with your responses, because some of the stuff you're going to really need to put some thought into. Again, we're going to mention the letters of recommendation. You need to get those 2 letters of recommendation. Transcript. This is an unofficial transcript. You should be able to download this somewhere from your online school somewhere. And if you don't know where it is, ask a mentor, and I'm sure they'll be able to point you in the right direction. But just so you know, you will need to include the fall 2021. So you're not going to get that or download that transcript until after your semester completes this year. So the review cycle, this is what we're offering as far as our support goes. Once you have your application material drafted, we would love for you to go ahead and send it to us so we could go ahead and take it through our review and give you any feedback that we have. If you don't use us and you're going to go through by yourself, that's fine. But we still encourage you, please, come up with a couple people, do a review circle, have people look at it. You want to make sure it's free of errors, spellings, those type of things. And then the last couple things you're going to need to do is you're going to need to submit. And that's just a really simple online process. You'll go out here and start looking around at it if you want. Just as a reminder, applications are due on January the 11th, 2022. And it's actually at 4 p.m. Central Time. I think it's 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Regarding those letters of recommendation, I would, if it were me and I were sending out my requests, I would give them a lot earlier of a deadline in my request. So if they're due on January the 11th, I would ask for them on January the 4th. And that just makes sure that you have enough time to follow up in case you don't get them in time. It just gives you a little bit of buffer. And then finally, the last thing you do after you submit is that we're going to start practicing. We need you to start practicing for your interview, because we're going to assume that you're going to get selected for the interview process, and we want to make sure that you'll be able to shine. So that will be the last piece of bit before we finally get you into the summer internship. That is our checklist. Anybody have any questions about the checklist? Cortez, I see a question out here about how many interns typically participate in the SIST internship.
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Yes, as was mentioned earlier, we typically get hundreds of applications, right? And so it's highly competitive. However, I think in the past it's been anywhere from 20 plus, at least that 15, 20 plus range for students. But I'm not certain how many will be selected for this year. But I would say, regardless of how many students have still applied, you never know. We've oftentimes had students that maybe had a different commitment and then they can't actually attend. And so, who, selected next, the next person. So I would always do that. I know for some of the programs, we actually had that to happen where some students just cannot make the commitment, and we just went ahead to the next set of students. But the work that you're going to be doing this summer is not just some office work. It's work that we value. You're going to be working on hands-on opportunities and activities with researchers or engineers or technicians and scientists that can really benefit you holistically. So I would take it seriously and understand that it's important work that we're asking you to solve a problem, right, that affects Fermilab and our research community. So you're definitely a valuable asset as an intern.
And I think in the past, cohorts have ranged from 12 to 16, depending upon the year, something in around that area, right?
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
think the last one that I saw online, it was about like 18 students that was up there at the
Okay.
picture. Yeah.
Yeah. So it, as he says, it varies, but expected to be in and about that area. Okay. Well, one of the other things I said I would mention to you are the application questions. So what I did is I just pulled out what the actual questions are in the application, so you could see what the requirements were as far as maximum characters, so you could start drafting your responses. I did put in here several different tips, like for instance, this one here, your name and contact. Make sure you use a professional sounding email. hottots@gmail.com is not good. Maybe, you know, just your name would be great at gmail.com or something along those lines, or even your school address would work fine. So you'll see that there are the questions that are all listed here. But a couple of the other things I want to point out is the fact that there is an opportunity here for you to write something about your particular interest, to really sell yourself to the selection committee. If you've had any specific challenges or anything that you need to explain in your application, be it like, you know, a lower GPA than what you want, but it's still within the threshold of the 3.0 or better, you can speak to that there. If there's something in particular that you really, really like and are really, really passionate about, this is a good place to also put that and make sure that you communicate the fact that you have that interest and that passion. One of the other things that I don't see in here, and Brian might be able to speak to this, but I know in the past when Brian's talked to us about applications and submitting job applications specifically, is that you really need to let people know who you're going to be as a team member. They're not looking for somebody that's going to fill a role. They're looking for somebody that's going to be a good fit for the team. And so if you have experience working in a team, I don't care if it was on a group project, I don't care if it was picking up stakes at the soccer field, however you needed to do it, whatever group that you worked in, whatever team you worked in, you make sure that you highlight that and that your love of working in teams and how good you are at working in teams. Because that is going to be, that's going to be the future, guys. That's at the end of the day, you need to be a team member.
I'll speak to that too, just to
Please.
add, you know, just think about it. People want to work around people that they want to work on, right? You're going to be around people for hours and hours and hours. And so you do want to be a person that is able to be in those environments with others and people feel that they can work with you. And so when you are in that interview, it's okay to let the personality come out because we're human beings. So what you don't want is to be so robotic that you put yourself in a position where they don't see any type of personality that comes out of you. And I know that's a fine line, right, of from a professionalism standpoint, but I think we're dealing with very mature individuals on the call today that understand like how to present yourself technically strong, but also have some personality. And what I mean by that is just smile. If you're a person who likes to smile, smile. Don't be afraid to do that just because you're in an interview. So I just wanted to share that piece.
Thank you, Brian. I'm looking over to see if there's any other questions in the chat box. Okay, if there's not, so one of the things I want to mention, and then we'll move on, is these competency questions. So you'll see these questions and they'll ask, you know, what kind of experience do you have in all these different things? And they want you to do either no experience, some experience, working knowledge, or expert. And I know a lot of people will look at this and they're like, well, I don't have any of these, or I might only have a little bit of this one. I'm not going to be qualified for this internship. They're not going to want me. And I want to make sure everybody here hears this, right? These are not to determine whether or not that you are going to be accepted into this internship or not. Exactly. What these are is literally just to find out where your skills are, what your interests are, and to make sure that you are matched to the best position at Fermilab that matches your interests and your skills. That is it. Cortez, back me up on that.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Those those competencies are not the deciding factor for you participating in the program. By all means, even if you haven't done those things, you could potentially learn those areas over the summer. So yeah, please do not be discouraged because I'm like, hey, I haven't done this, or I don't know what an oscilloscope was, or is. And I remember a lot of these things that I've used when I worked technically at the lab, and I'm like, I didn't learn them until I actually got there. So please don't be afraid and don't sell yourself short, but put a lot of attention into those areas like your recommendation letters and that little blurb I know Deb was talking about earlier, like that's like your elevator speech in the essay. So take advantage of that part where you can actually really showcase and highlight your talents.
Absolutely. And the last document that we mentioned is that letter of recommendation. There's some do's and don'ts that are up here for everybody to look at. Just simple things like make sure that you're professional, make sure that you're polite when you ask, make sure that you tell them what it is you're applying for. Make sure that, as Dr. Shaw indicated, is that you want to make sure that this person's going to be able to write you an excellent letter of recommendation. And so what you can do is you can make sure that they have the information about you as to how you're going to be a good fit for this internship, so they can make sure to write to that in their letter. There's a couple of do's and don'ts there. And then here is that template as well. And you guys will get this afterwards. Any questions about the materials you see, the presentation, or anything that we've done so far this evening? Because we're almost at the end. Okay, well, again, I want to thank everybody. We will go ahead and disseminate this information. This session was recorded. I will send out a link to the recorded session as well as all the materials that we covered. For those that just want to go ahead and get a jump start, you can go ahead and look at the links here. I'm going to put these in the chat boxes so you can see. And just as a final reminder, applications are due January the 11th. So make sure you get those letters of recommendation requested this week. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. If anyone wants to stay on and ask specific questions, you're welcome to. Otherwise, we want to thank everybody for your time, and don't hesitate to reach out with any questions you have. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Thank you, guys. Look forward to seeing your applications.
Here, let's stop share.